Oh my God, there's two of us. I honestly don't think the world will ever be ready for two of me. You know, I think a lot of people think anxiety or a burden. I'll get like really hot and I'll just feel like I can't deal with the situation. Jared was like, you were slut dropping at a first party. And I was like, no, I'm celebrating my year because I got through the first year and I've loved it. Hello, Danny. Hello. So what brings you here today then? I'm here to talk about my show about anxiety and how it's affected me and other young mums out there. So I wanted to have a little chat about it. Well, we all know that you're not afraid to speak up. So I'm going to ask you some questions on the topic. So what is anxiety? How is it defined? It's not like a certain emotion. It's not like feeling happy. It's not like feeling sad or angry. You can describe them, but anxiety affects people in so many different ways, whether it's like mentally, like emotionally, physically. You know, some people just lose all control of their bodies. It's all in their mind, like breathing, like panicking, you know, not being able to concentrate. It can make you sick. You know, there's so many different ways that anxiety can affect you, which I think why it's so difficult sometimes to explain to people because everyone reacts to anxiety so differently. What does your anxiety look like? Is it different day to day? For me, when I feel anxious, it's definitely more with like my breathing and I'll get really like upset. I'll get like really hot and I'll just feel like I can't deal with the situation, and mine is always when I'm a little bit out of control. So let's talk about when you were little. What was you like as a kid? I loved going to dancing. Like dancing was like one of my favourite things when I was a little girl. My mum said I was really chatty. She said I was singing songs from like 9 months old. I was always very obsessed. Like my shoes could never be dirty. And then I had like a weird thing where I would always pull my hair and like strain and do. I always had like an obsessive personality and I'm still like that now. So what was school like for you? I was bullied badly in primary school, so I just don't know if that took my enjoyment away. It's a shame because I know like school years meant to be your best years, but for me they were my worst. How did you find going to school with a famous dad? It was hard actually. When I moved to Essex, the area at age 12 is hard. And everyone was like talking about my dad because I'd never had that before. I felt like in East London people knew who my dad was, so it wasn't a big surprise. But moving areas, it was like, oh, we're going to talk about it. I remember sitting on a bench and everyone was sort of around me saying it, and I remember crying going, Mum, I don't want to go back to this school, I don't like it. I really, really don't. But I ended up going to the popular group. I felt like that was the right thing I had to do, get in with them. So outside of school, what was that like? I was very active. I always loved the gym. I always loved, like, I've done like half marathons with my uncle. You know, it was always something. Being active was a big thing for me. As I've got older, it's got worse for me. I'm not really good at just sitting still. I like to keep active and keep doing things. But from a young age, I think I was like that. What made you realise that lots of people have anxiety? Me and my friends, when I was actually speaking to some of my friends recently, when we was younger, we never spoke about how we was feeling, but anxiety was not spoken about. I never, ever, ever had a class on anxiety, depression, mental health. So we never spoke about it as friends. Whereas now, when we go out as like a group of friends, we just all chat and laugh, and we all have our own weird little things that we do, like, and it makes you feel better. They're your therapy. Because if you sort of surround yourself with people that aren't really telling you exactly how they're feeling, that it's all a little bit one-sided, you're not going to get nothing from that friendship. I remember going on Love Island and then sort of coming off it. I just wasn't interested in getting lost in that like reality world of like, you know, there was like reality stars that, you know, obviously I'd seen for years on TV shows, and then you come out and they're like, want to be your friend? And I was like, oh, this is weird. No, I've just got my friends who I've just loved and adored since I was young, and they know me inside and out. So did you ever find that your anxiety affected your time on Love Island, or did that come afterwards? One of my best summers ever. I will always remember 2018 for that. It was everything I could want it to be and more. Like I wouldn't change a thing. And then when you come out of Love Island, you walk in one person and walk out another. I didn't want to do any TV work. People were obviously judging me about the way I like speak and stuff. And, you know, I think for me, where it was, I was under so much pressure, I couldn't cope with it. And it was weird because people loved me for being me, and then I didn't know who me was. And I was like, what if I'm not the me that they want me to be? And I got lost in that. And I think for me, it took me a while to then go back on TV again and like be myself again. Has there ever been any particular moments in your career that you've really struggled with your anxiety? I think it was definitely like doing TV work. It's always been out of balance for me, like the negatives and the positive. I've always been more of a negative person rather than a positive, and not everyone thinks that about me. Everyone thinks I'm a very positive person, and I am. But when it comes to myself, the negative, she she's just bursting to come out. She's just raging to come out. But I'm learning. I'm trying to figure that out myself. So let's chat about everyone's favourite pastime, social media. Do you think social media affects your anxiety? I think sometimes on my social media platform, I was really scared to sort of share how I was feeling because I didn't really know how it was going to be, manipulated or spoken about. But now I'm getting a lot better on it. I can't hold myself back just because I'm scared of what people are going to think. I'm just trying to get back onto that now, because even with Instagram, I was very much like, oh no, I'm not going to share anything. Everything's perfect, everything's fine. I think when I had my little boy, I really lent on my Instagram followers, because they're so, don't get me wrong, you do get the mum police, but you do get some really, really lovely, supportive people, just sort of being there for you, really. You need that. What's the worst thing about social media when you're feeling anxious? I think social media is a massive pressure now. It's just following the right people, because I think social media, if you're not having a great day and then you sort of see something, it can really, really trigger you. So I always just find it important to just, instead of comparing yourself, instead of looking for it, it's just best to just sort of just take a moment and go, you know what, I'm not going to follow you, nothing against you, but you're not good for my mental health. How do you cope with the difficult parts of social media when you're feeling anxious? Harry Styles' bedtime story, he's not just a sexy man, he's also got a lovely voice to send you to sleep. So what made you want to share your experiences publicly? I think with motherhood, I'm so amongst it now. I found a really interesting topic. I think for me, I struggled with anxiety. But then when I become a parent, it was like this whole different level of worries, health anxiety. I've never had a health anxiety on myself, but with my little boy, from the moment I got pregnant, I was so scared of losing him. And I just couldn't understand why the scans were constant. And there was never anything wrong with him and even when he was in my arms, he was absolutely fine. But it was just even when he had to have his hearing check, it was just, I was always in such a state over him. And I couldn't figure that out. I really, really didn't understand why I was like that, to be honest. But when the sort of documentary sort of come about, and I knew this was my first documentary and I wanted it to mean something and be really, really important to me, and it fascinated me, sort of the women that I've been following and hearing about their anxiety struggles and, sort of going on their journeys. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, it was really hard, sort of hearing what they'd been through, but sort of seeing them come out on the other side was also really amazing. And anxiety is spoken about, but I don't feel like anxiety on motherhood is spoken about enough. So if I can sort of share it and sort of make women feel more comfortable with speaking about how they're feeling, then I'll be really happy with that. What were your worries about opening up publicly? I've definitely worried, and I'm worried now. I'm so worried now. Yeah, I know. It's showing your vulnerable side. No one really wants to show vulnerability. I think we're all the same on that. We always want to put on the perfect face, but that was never me. And I need to remember that. On Love Island, I think I had a bit of a journey in there, didn't I, really? I know my relationship was great in there, but it was still, my emotions were a little bit... and I think that's what people know me for. They don't know me for being this perfect, let's stand and hold a coffee and, look great. That was never the personality I wanted to be. So I think to show a little bit of my honesty again and just being more myself again, I hope people enjoy that more, because I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. I've not done a show like this, so it was scary, and I knew I had to be in the right environment to do it, working with the right people and just feel safe, because I'm very good at being I'm not opening up, I'm not talking. I'm very good at doing that. But straight away, it just felt right. And I knew, if we got it right, it could be amazing. So what coping mechanisms have helped you manage your anxiety? My therapist taught me the breathing techniques. There's definitely a lot of breathing. Then Ariana Grande brought out the song Breathing, and I knew we were mates. I just knew me and her were friends when she brought out that song. So it is all about breath work and just focusing on other things, sort of getting up, walking around. I've definitely learned along the way. We're going to have 3 kids soon. Being a mum of 3 absolutely petrifies me. I've just said it the whole time. People are like, how are you feeling? I'm petrified. Is there anyone in your life who's been really supportive of you on your journey with anxiety? I think my mum really helped me with keeping me. I remember her saying to me, you're a mum, but you are Danny. Do not lose Danny, because otherwise what are you here for? You just can't lose yourself, but it's so easy to lose yourself when you become a mum, because you're I'm just a mum now, and it's and it takes you a while it's 2 years out of your life. I remember Santi's first birthday party, I was slut dropping. And Jared was like, you were slut dropping at a first party. And I was like, no, I'm celebrating my year because I got through the first year and I've loved it. So what have we learned about ourselves, about anxiety and becoming a mum? I've definitely grown as a person. I think it was accepting what anxiety was really and not being ashamed of it. No one is a perfect parent. And I think at the beginning I was so worried that I wasn't good enough. Can I be a parent, or am I parenting correctly? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Try and enjoy the good days. When you're having a bad day, you appreciate the good days. You just want to live a good life. And that's something I've just figured out now. Like, I was very much on the roller coasters. I loved a roller coaster. I'm on the lazy river now. I'm having a really good time on that river as well. Do you think anxiety should stop us or anyone else from achieving what they want to achieve? Absolutely not. Just because you're an anxious person doesn't mean you can't go out and have a great future and have a great career, have a great family. I think a lot of people think anxiety, you're a burden. You're a burden on other people. You know, why should I feel like this? Why should I be around, you know, my friends when I feel like this? But it's just being honest, talking about it. You know, anxiety is just another emotion. It's just an emotion that you sort of have to learn to deal with and cope with. But it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your life. It just doesn't mean that at all. So thanks for your time today, Danny. Thank you for having me. Should we get out of here? Yeah, come on, I've got twins to pop out.